we'll start with is LSU's passing game. Going into the season, the reason why I really was all in on Garrett Nussmeier, and we'll talk about Nussmeier getting in on the road on Saturday night, was because he gave them, I thought, the best ability to make plays in the air. Because when you looked at LSU's offense, the strength of the offense is where? It's in the wide receivers, right? And now 5 games into this season, you can see the distribution has just not been there for the playmakers that LSU has at that spot. Whether it's Kayshawn, whether it's Malik Neighbors, again, Jack Besh really just extinct in a game where you look around and Mason Taylor has 11 targets on the night. I love Mason Taylor. He's going to be a player. But in this offense right now, he don't need 11 targets. Spread those targets out and give Besh 4 of them. Give Malik another 3 of them. Throw something at Kayshawn. I'm just as concerned about Kayshawn as everybody else is. And to me, he looks as if at times he's disengaged. And that's a personal problem that he's got to take that he's got to take care of. But I still think that there's got to be some responsibility on the play caller and the offense of getting your best player involved. Like, I don't know how else to say it other than football to me, and it was explained to me, it's very simple in some terms where you've got horses. If you got horses, you got to ride them. And LSU has horses on offense. They got to start becoming more involved. Look, it's a two-way street. Right? Like, I think both sides, whether it's the play caller or it's the player, have to improve. But from the play calling standpoint, I think there are some easy remedies of just letting him touch it. Just letting him get involved, speaking more on Kayshawn, right? And look, I think Kayshawn's got some stuff that he's got to figure out, whether, where he is from an attitude standpoint. But more beyond Kayshawn, Brian Thomas needs to touch the ball more. Malik Neighbors needs to touch the ball more, and you can see his frustration starting to grow a little bit because he's running his routes and he's getting into open space, and the ball sometimes is behind him. The ball's just out a little bit in front of him. It's not at the point where he can catch it and run it. And, we've been talking about the buildup of October for LSU football. Here we are. Right? October 3rd. Going into the Tennessee game on Saturday. Jane Daniels is hurt. I mean, it was only a matter of time before he was toting it like he is, where that was going to happen. And for him to think that he can make it through the month of October playing the style that he played in September it's crazy to even fathom, because it's not going to happen. So either Nussmeier needs to expedite his progress and become, his eyeballs were saucers on that first drive. Now, when you change the quarterback mid-drive and you go to a guy who wasn't expected to play, I get it, right? Like, there can be some nerves. There can be some energy of like, he tightening up, man. So that first one where Kelly's kind of like looks at him and he just takes the snap and he doesn't even think about it. He just throws it and sails it over Mason Taylor's head because he wants to get back to the sideline. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted no part of that moment in that spot right there. But then as he was able to take a deep breath, collect his nerves, go out and get some coaching, you could see Kelly after he lit him up on the sideline, and he lit him up.
Hit him with the what the shuck.
That ball that Nussmeier threw over Taylor's head nearly hit Kelly in the stomach. It kind of skipped onto his feet, and Kelly tried to like kick the ball away and held his hands up to him, kind of like, what are you doing? Like, come on, man. Here's your moment. Step into it and make a play. And then if you saw him come to the sideline, he was in his ear. He even like gave him like an ass slap, as he was like going back to the bench. To like say like, you got to get going, man. And then as the TV copy went to break, you can see Kelly's walking to Nussmeier, kind of like clapping at him like, come on, man. We got to get moving. We got to get going. And getting back to the start of this, and look, first off, LSU wins the game. You got to win them. 4-1. That's a great road win from the sense of just get out of there. Survive and advance in the SEC. But as the evaluation goes, they've got to get significantly better on throwing the ball. I think that's very, very obvious. But 80 yards in the air is not going to do it. It's just, especially with an offense like Tennessee coming into town where you might have to get into a score for score type game if you want to keep and stay in this type of shootout. Can they do it? They can't do it with Jaden Daniels right now. Right? And I still believe that, Daniels, as Kelly said after the game, he's their starting quarterback. And I'm fine with that. I understand that. I get that. But he's got to trust throwing the football. And if it takes turning the ball over to get to that point where he trusts it, I'm okay with it. Because I see the stat that he hasn't turned it over. And that there's no, interceptions on it. I get it, but it's too protective. It's Jordan Jefferson type protective where he plants on that third step, that fifth step, and he doesn't even think about delivering the ball down the field when he's clearly got guys running in holes, running in openings. They may not be big windows and they not be windows that they're sitting in for a long time, but there is a window for the ball to be thrown, and LSU is much better with the ball in the hands of Malik Neighbors, Kayshon Boutte, Jack Besh, Brian Thomas, Mason Taylor, John Emery.
Oof.
Good to see number 4. Good to see number 4 making a play. Now, look, he still had those moments of that was a bad fumble at the end of the game, but as far as the balance of the game goes, the evaluation of John Emery's night, you got to see that confidence starting to grow, starting to bud, really kind of starting to shake the rust off of where he's coming from. Taking 2 years off of anything is going to be difficult trying to get back into and perform at a high level. 2 years off of football at an SEC level and trying to step back in some of the atmospheres that he's been, it's taken him a minute to get moving. Now it looks like he's starting to find it. Who was it last week talking about, was it Hayden talking about John Emery has no burst? Say what? That was an NFL run when he got his head turned around on the face mask, found the hole, got through the hole, showed you everything.
On the hood.
Stiff arm, run away from him. That's what you're looking for. He's still not seeing it the way you want him to see it, but that's the potential. So it's good to see him making a play.
But what you saw from LSU is not sustainable.
No. It's not.
And it's coming, that's what it feels like has been the case the entire time, but LSU continues to kind of, hey, just get a win. That's what Jaden Daniels does. He wins. He gets you wins. But when you start looking at the brunt of your schedule, that Auburn game shouldn't have been the way it was. Obviously, Auburn is always Auburn. For some reason, those games are always shaky. But when you look at Tennessee at 11 a.m., you can't have, 4 yards passing in the second half or 6 yards passing? I understand that your quarterback went out, but the way that the LSU offense is playing right now is just not sustainable.
No, and look, we've been saying that this is not a sustainable offense. And I know the other night when people are talking about that the offense and the wide receivers had 9 drops, they had balls that they should have caught.
Yeah, for sure, but that's
right?
going to happen.
And they got balls that hit them in the hands, and the rule usually says if the ball hits you in the hands, you got to catch it as a wide receiver. But you also have to get these guys the ball in rhythm. Mm-hmm. Right? When Kayshon or Malik Neighbors is running a crossing route and he's opened up, he's sprinting, where if you hit him in stride, it's going to be tough for the first, second defender to take him to the ground. And when you throw him behind him, he's got to stop. Should he have caught that ball? Probably so. Is that a tough catch because of just the momentum of the moment and trying to make the play? I get it. I understand it. It's on both, right? Like quarterback needs to deliver a catchable ball. Wide receiver to hit you in the hands. You got to make the play. So, I mean, it's a little clunky right now.
There's no rhythm to it.
They can't find anything that they run comfortably. They can't find easy ways to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers. They can't just run something that looks as if it's an easy developing, just little roll out, dump out, get the ball out of your hands, put somebody in space and let them make a play. Right? I mean, that's what they have to find pretty quick